Now, one of many things I liked about the Family Secrets trial is when the prosecution talked about the differences between the street crews. For example, the Grand Avenue crew, where I live, was the smallest crew, the most quietest, the best burglars in the entire country. Then you had the Chinatown crew. They were the best killers, the most vicious. Then you had the Wild Bunch crew on Taylor. They would wear ski masks, shotguns, kill people broad daylight, like New York style. Then you had the North Side crew. They were the money crew. Now, the prosecutor at the Family Secrets trial, John Scully, he said that Joey was the boss of the Grand Avenue crew, and that the Grand Avenue crew was the smallest crew, the most quietest crew, but they had the best burglars in the entire country. Joey Lombardo denied being boss of the crew and told the judge that George Bush and Dick Cheney had a bigger crew. Now, years ago, when Joey went to prison, he left over the reins, left everything to Jimmy Boy Kozo and his family. Jimmy Boy was a very powerful guy in the Union, not only throughout Chicago, but throughout the state of Illinois. He also owned the Kozo compound, where all the boys back in the 80s and 90s used to get together and socialize. Probably one of the most dangerous guys in the Grand Avenue crew was Frankie Schweiss, aka the German Hitler. Allegedly, he killed over 100 people. He was under Joey's control. Joey's probably the only one that can control him. This gentleman was talked about a lot at the Family Secrets trial. He was actually one of the defendants, but was too sick to stand trial. He was the alleged triggerman in the Alan Dorfman hit, and many others. Now, going back to the Grand Avenue having the best burglars in the country, here's Jimmy Legs, a made member of the Grand Avenue crew. This guy was a master thief, the Michael Jordan of thieves, if you will. He was also Joey Lombardo's driver when Lumpy got out of prison. This guy has a lot of family and friends in the Grand Avenue neighborhood and is very well liked, very well respected, and it's nice to hear all the stories about him. Now, in the back of the photo, a legend in the Grand Avenue neighborhood, the late, great Mikey Switek. He was part of the Grand Avenue crew, worked directly under Joey Lombardo. This guy was a master in explosives, one of the best thieves in the United States. He said to me during the pandemic, during his day, if you wore a mask, you'd get pinched. Now, during the pandemic, if you don't wear a mask, you get pinched. I remember having coffee with this guy and bumming smokes and hearing all his stories. Now, back in the day, Harry Alleman, he was the leader of the Wild Bunch crew on Taylor Street, a legend in the Chicago outfit, a notorious hitman, allegedly killed over 150 people. His first murder trial was fixed. They bribed the judge. Harry was acquitted. I went to the second trial of Harry Alleman, where he was actually convicted. I'll never forget it. Here's two heavyweights of the old Wild Bunch crew. On the left, Tony Borsellino, who was later on killed by the Chicago outfit shortly after the Tony Arcardo burglars were tortured and killed. And on the right, you got Butchie Petroselli. He was one of the 18 murders discussed at the Family Secrets trial. He was lured to Angelo Petria's club in Bridgeport, where he was killed. These men used to try to outdo each other on Rush Street, pissing off the Chicago outfit bosses. Here's another member of the Wild Bunch crew, Jerry Scalise. He was the alleged one of the triggermen with Frank Calabrese and Nick Calabrese when they killed Billy Dauber and his wife outside the Will County Courthouse. He was also one of the thieves that got caught in the famous Marble Diamond heist in London. I went to his trial where he was allegedly trying to break into Angelo Petria's house. Now here's Jimmy I, an older heavyweight from the Wild Bunch crew, who's still alive today. Never got killed. Maybe spent a little time in the can, but not much. He's retired now and spending the remaining days with his family. But back in the day, this guy did a lot of heavy work for the Chicago outfit. Now, this is an important photo that they showed at the Family Secrets trial. Here you got two guys from the Cicero crew and two bosses from the Melrose Park crew. Joe Ferriola on the left, boss at the time, his underboss Sam Carlisi to his right, little Jimmy Marcello, the upcoming boss with the sunglasses, and the other underboss, Rocky and Felice. The prosecution alleged that in a McDonald's parking lot in Oak Brook, that these four gentlemen were planning and discussing the upcoming Spilatro murders. Here's one of my favorites, Bobby Salerno, member of the Rocky and Felice crew, heavyweight in the Chicago outfit. I went to his trial, the first trial, the Good Ship Loud Pop trial. The jury hung on Bobby Salerno, convicted all the other defendants. I went to his second trial where his son represented him. His son Alex was so proud that he represented him. Unfortunately, they found Bobby guilty based on the lies B.J. Jehoda told. Now, another heavyweight in the Rocky and Felice crew was Louis Tomatoes Marino. According to Nick Calabrese, he was one of the men that was in the basement at that house in Naperville when the Spilatros were beat to death. And also, according to B.J. Jehoda, he was one of the men in B.J. Jehoda's kitchen that actually killed the bookie Hal Smith. Now, here's Joey Doves, Joey Aiuppa. He was the boss of Chicago outfit back in the day. He was talked about a lot during the Family Secrets trial. And according to Nick Calabrese, right before he went to prison, he told Sam Carlisi and Joe Ferriola, I want them both knocked down, number one, and number two. I don't care how you do it, just do it, referring to the Spilatro brothers. Now, these two gents need no introduction. On the left, you got Joe Batters, Tony Arcardo, one of the most powerful men in the United States back then. He actually grew up in the Grand and Ogden neighborhood. And on the right, his underboss, Jackie Cerrone, boss of the Elmwood Park crew. Jackie's family owns most of the buildings from Grand and Western all the way east to Grand and Halsted. Now, going back to the glory days, the good old days of the outfit, the 1970s, the 1980s, was this guy, Vince Solano. He was boss of the Northside crew, pretty much ran Rush Street. He was one of the guys in the famous family supper photo. When they showed that picture to Joey Lombardo at the Family Secrets trial, Joey denied ever meeting or ever knowing Vince Solano, even though the government had the two of them speaking together. The late John No-Nos DeFranzo, he was the recent boss of the Northside crew and ran his crew a lot differently than some of the other guys. Rather than use violence, they decided to go legit. Stock market, real estate, construction, waste hauling, restaurants, nightclubs, etc. And a lot of the guys were a little jealous. According to Nick, he was one of the men that was at the house in Bentonville that took part in killing the Spilatros, but was never charged. Here's another second in command of the Northside crew, the late Peter DeFranzo. Was never charged, never indicted in the Family Secrets trial. Did spend some time in federal prison back in the day. This guy was a made member of the Chicago outfit. Ran pretty much a legitimate business, but was a serious enforcer back in his day. There's Marco the Mover D'Amico, a heavyweight in the Northside crew. Years ago, he was sent to prison based on Bob Cooley's testimony. Bob Cooley, as we all know, was a snitch, a corrupt cop, an informant. His lies helped put away Marco D'Amico. And this guy, when he got out of jail, he went to work for John No-Nos DeFranzo and his brother Petey. Here's another loyal member of the Northside crew, Mario Renon. I seen him at the Gus Alex trial. He was one of the defendants in that extortion case. This guy is a serious enforcer, debt collector for the outfit. I seen him not too long ago. He was in court represented by Joe Lopez for a gun charge that he's serving now. Here's the boss of the Chinatown crew, Angelo the Bull, the Hook, LaPetria. He was talked about a lot at the Family Secrets trial. He went to prison on the Las Vegas skimming trial back in the day. Ended up dying in prison. Nick Calabrese and Frank Calabrese talked about all the heavy work they did for the bull. Here's Frankie the Breeze Calabrese, one of the main defendants during the family secrets trial. As we all know, his brother and his son testified against him. He was kind of the leader under Angelo Petria and his brother Jimmy of the Chinatown crew. Was a brutal hitman, enforcer, loan shark for the Chicago outfit, and passed away not too long ago on Christmas Day. An enforcer, mob hitman, maid guy for the Chicago outfit was Nick Calabrese. He testified to quite a bit at the family secrets trial, to committing over 14 murders. He gave information on about 8 other murders that he knew of. He talked about the making ceremony, the day him and others were made. And this guy only got 12 years for the 12 murders that he admitted to. And another member of the Chinatown crew who was talked about a lot at the family secrets trial. This guy was very close to Frank and Nick Calabrese. Ronnie Jarrett did a lot of heavy work. He was a loan shark, a debt collector for the outfit, and a thief. He eventually went to war with Johnny Apes and was killed right across the street from his house. Another member of the Chinatown crew, John Big Stoop Feccarata, who was killed by his best friend Nick Calabrese. One of the 18 murders discussed at the family secrets trial. This guy was known as the best wheelman in Chicago. He was the getaway driver in the Danny Seaford hit. He was talked about a lot at the family secrets trial. He would constantly do things that would upset the bosses. Now here's another member of the Chinatown crew, Jimmy DeForty, also known as Poker, because the guy loved to play poker. He was talked about a lot at the family secrets trial. He did some work and some scores with the Chinatown crew and the Calabrese brothers. And at one point, Frank Calabrese thought that he was an informant and was actually considering killing him. But it turned out DeForty was not an informant. Here's Shorty LaMattia. He was a close associate with the Chinatown crew. Talked about a little bit at the family secrets trial. At one point, he was at the club, at Angelo's club, and he walked in the room. He saw all the guys getting ready for a birthday party, which meant they were going to kill somebody. They all had gloves on. This poor guy was so scared, he thought they were going to kill him. I sat right next to his son, Rocky, during court every day. He looked just like his dad. Here's Nicky Ferriola, an old friend of mine from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. He was a defendant at the family secrets trial, but Nicky was smart. He kept his mouth shut. He listened to his lawyer. He did his time, and now he's home relaxing, working a legitimate job. Nicky used to visit Frank Calabrese in prison, relay messages, and ran a multi-million-dollar book operation. Now, Johnny Apes became boss of the Chinatown crew shortly after Angelo Petria went to prison. And Ronnie Jarrett did not like the new leadership. Apes whistled him in a few times. Ronnie Jarrett kept ghosting him. And eventually, Johnny Apes had Ronnie Jarrett killed right across the street from his house on his way to a friend's funeral. Here's Jimmy LaPetria, the Lapper, Angelo LaPetria's right-hand man, his brother. Nick Calabrese testified that when little Jimmy Marcello picked him, Jimmy Lapper, and John Feccarata up at Venture and drove them to the house in Bensonville, Nick testified that Jimmy also took part in killing the Spilotro brothers. Now here's Skids on the left and Toots, Frank Caruso on the right. Two legend Chinatown crew members, born and raised in Bridgeport. Their entire family is highly connected, pretty much legit. I mentioned earlier that I went to Frankie Jr.'s trial, where Frank Caruso Sr. went off on the judge.